I am. You better be careful. If you fall, it's gonna hurt. Don't stand up. Just sit there. You see the ducks? Quack, quack.
brake wasn't working on this one?
It works, you just have to really, like, you have to pull the brake back all the way.
I may have to
on the
take
right
this
side
and get it working on, because I can't figure it out.
Ready to roll?
Yeah. We're all way to roll, Daddy. Yeah.
All right.
They'll be fell off the back, and Nick will have to go with he won't even know. This is going to be a movie in the making. You better pull your camera out now.
Oh, it's on. I'm ready.
Because this is going to be good.
The ball out, get attacked by ducks.
No spitting. Hey. No spitting. No spitting. Bye. Have fun. So I'm recording this a few days after our bike ride, but I just had to tell you guys what happened the rest of the day that I did not record. So we went on a bike ride. We stayed at one of the playground areas for a long time. It was a really, really nice playground, and the kids loved it. So we stayed there for a while. John's mom and I just stayed there talking, whatever, watching the kids play. John went around the trail a few times, and he comes back to us and he gets off of his bike and he's really upset, and I look at his leg and his leg is like cut open in 2 different places, like around his knee. So he was very upset because he's riding on the bike, the little sidewalk thing, and you know, when you're on a sidewalk, it's kind of like the rules of the road. You walk or ride your bike, whatever, on the right side, and the people coming towards you are on the left. So he's riding on his side, on the edge of the sidewalk, and he sees a mom pushing a stroller, and she's on her phone, and she's on her side, so he's just going along, and then literally at the last second she decides to move the stroller over to the middle of the sidewalk, and he has no choice but to wreck. The worst part is she didn't even stop and say she was sorry. She was so busy on her phone. I don't even know if she knew that he wrecked because of her, or if he wrecked at all. He says that she knew. I don't know, but he was very upset about it. So that happened. And then a little while later, when we decided to start loading up, we realized that our bike rack's pin, like the hitch pin that connects the bike rack itself to my hitch, the bolt is missing, which is bad. So what happened was, when we first got there, well, let me back up a little bit more. We bought the bike rack the same day we bought the bikes. We bought the bike rack first, obviously, so we could buy the bikes and put them on it. I got it, or I found it from a guy who was selling it. It was brand new in the box. It was $60, which we thought was a really good deal. And we put it together, and we had some trouble putting it together. That should have been our first warning. But we get down to the state park that we went to ride our bikes, and Audrey's bike was almost completely off the bike rack. We don't know how it stayed on, but it was by some miracle that it did. So there are like 2 stoppers on each side of the rack, like on each pole. The stoppers had come off, so the back of the bike was completely off the rack and just hanging there. Thankfully, the other side, it was still on. So we took off the rack to try to fix it, and we just put it in the back of my Jeep so we could go ahead and get a start on bike riding. Well, sometime, I guess within that process, we lost the bolt. So I think I was the one, yes, it was me. I was the one who went out first. So because there was a Lowe's literally 2 minutes down the road, I'm like, you know what, I'll go to Lowe's and figure out if they have a pin or something that'll make this work so we can get the bikes home. So I go there and no one can understand what I'm saying. Like, they can understand me, but they can't understand what I want. So I'm trying to, like, I had the bike rack with me. I took it in there. So I'm trying to tell them I need a hitch pin to go in this. They even took me to where the car stuff was. Like, they have a very slim selection for hitches, but they took me there, and this hole is so small that we couldn't find an actual hitch pin to work. So a guy helped me by taking me over to where all the bolts and screws were and found a pin that worked. Okay, awesome. He was confident that it would work. I was really stressed out. I was about to have an anxiety attack in Lowe's. People were staring at me because they could clearly tell, I'm sure, that I was upset and just wanted to get back, because it was like 4:45 by this point. The park closed at 5, so I would not be able to get in even though they were in there. So I made it through the park gate just in time, gave John the pin, and then he realized that it wouldn't work because it was too narrow. It would not go through my hitch all the way. It wouldn't work. Great. So John left to try to find something, and then we realized that the park rangers came up and started talking to us and said they were closing. We explained what happened. So they stayed there and they're like, you know what, we'll work with you. Just go try to find something that'll work, and then when you come back, they gave us the code to get back into the park. Cool. So me and John and Kimber went out. We went to Walmart. They didn't have anything that worked, and then we finally went to O'Reilly Auto Parts, and they managed to make the hole bigger to make something work. So we get back. It's dark by this point. It's completely pitch black. John's mom and Audric found a little gazebo that had lighting, because the park didn't have lights because they closed, so there's no lights there. So they were in the gazebo, and hey, what's that on your hand?
That's on the door. Where's my mommy?
I don't know what this came from, but of course they broke the door or something. Anyways, so we bought ratchet straps to make the bikes stay on the bike rack, since clearly they were going to come off. We bought 2 heavy-duty ratchet straps, okay? John knows his stuff with ratchet straps. You'll see where I'm going with this in a minute. So it's pitch black dark. We are trying to get these bikes on the bike rack. We got them on there fairly quickly, and on the way home, like, let me just say, I even tested out this bike rack to make sure the bikes were not going to come off. I jumped up and down, like bouncing them around, shaking the bike rack. They weren't going anywhere. They were securely fastened. So on the way home, we were kind of joking about it and laughing around and just kind of relieved that the day was over, because it was so stressful. And we get home and I go to check the bikes. Yeah, the bike rack, the poles are bent like this, and the bikes, part of the bikes are off of it. I don't know how, but it was crazy. Anyways, the next day, John takes the bike rack off and he's about to throw it in the trash because we're just done with it. It's not going to work anymore. It clearly wasn't doing a good job to begin with. So he is literally walking over to the trash bins when the pin that we originally were looking for falls out of it. Yeah, we moved that bike rack around so many times, flipped it over I don't know how many different ways. We carried it into stores, they flipped it over, and it never fell out. So it's kind of ironic that he literally just walks over to the trash bin and it conveniently falls out. So I don't know what kind of test we were going through that day, but it definitely tested our patience, and I just thought I would tell you guys about the rest of that day.